This is the track on the roadmap that we call the surge, right? So the surge in the capacity of transactions that the chain will be able to process, and it's a combination of layer one stuff that allows the Ethereum chain to process more data, together with all of these layer two technologies and rollups and optimistic rollups and ZK rollups and that whole batch of fancy stuff, and its ability to actually create these sort of Ethereum inside of Ethereum like layers that actually will be able to process many thousands or tens of thousands of transactions a second eventually.
It's been almost 1 month since one of the biggest events in the history of the cryptocurrency space. On September 15, Ether, the world's second largest cryptocurrency network, switched from proof of work to proof of stake. By all indications, the transition went smoothly without any unexpected changes in the network. However, Ether prices have slumped post-merge due to the bear market and the gloomy macro environment. As of press time, the native token is trading at $1,284, a 0.97% decline within the past week. This is a far cry from the $2,000 post-merge price range several analysts predicted. But Ether is not the only asset getting plummeted in the bear market. Bitcoin, equities, and commodities are all showing strains from the Federal Reserve's aggressive interest rate hikes and the strengthening dollar. In a recent interview, Ether creator Vitalik Buterin discusses the aftermath of the merge, the next major upgrade for the Ether network, and some of the controversies surrounding post-merge Ether. Shortly before the merge, several social media users pointed out that Ether's new staking protocol was going to place complete control of the network in the hands of a few centralized entities. In his interview, Buterin discusses these assumptions and the steps the team is carrying out to make the network more secure for users. We will now take you to Buterin's interview. Please watch the video to the end, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. Also, ensure you check out our other crypto-related videos to stay updated on market trends.
The transition seems to have gone fine. The transition actually went a lot more smoothly than pretty much everyone expected. It was like every single one of the testnet merges had at least some kind of a bug or some snag that caused at least a few percent of the nodes to drop offline for a while, and the last one even didn't finalize for an hour. But the mainnet merge just went through completely smoothly. Everyone was happy. The chain just immediately adjusted to its new normal. The block times are now running at a nice, stable 1 per 12 seconds. I'm not sure if we've even had a single reorg since the merge. So, all gone well so far. But obviously, there's other metrics that it'll take years and maybe more than a decade before we know exactly how all of the details play out. How decentralized will the staking distribution be? How practical will it be for regular people to run nodes once all of the technological upgrades that we've still promised and that are still promises that we haven't delivered come to fruition? And all of those little details, but. No, in general, I think the Ethereum community is celebrating, and it really does feel like a sky that has been cloudy for almost a decade is finally cleared. Yeah, I think the Ethereum core research and dev community's Eye of Sauron is now tilted pretty squarely toward solving the scalability challenge. Like when we've talked in the past and just tried to summarize, what is the Ethereum roadmap about in 2 things, the answer has always been proof of stake and sharding. And proof of stake is finally here, but sharding is the next step, and that isn't quite here yet. Still take a while to get there. And I think unlike the merge, the surge will be much less of a single event. It'll be something that happens in lots of stages where each of those stages provides some concrete value, right? Like Optimism, Arbitrum, Scroll, Starknet, that whole family, they're already here, and there's some applications on them already, and you can save fees already, and you can use them already. But then next step is this thing that we call proto-dank sharding, which will make data cheaper and which will make transactions on all of those things cheaper. And proto-dank sharding, as implied by the name, is actually the proto version of a full dank sharding, which will come even later. And then the rollups themselves are going to start improving in efficiency because of compression. And like, you see, there's this grab bag of different technologies. Some of them being cryptography, some of them being peer-to-peer networking, some of them just being economics and just the innovations that you can unlock by doing multi-dimensional gas pricing. And it's not one big thing. It's like a grab bag of things, each of which provides, somewhere close to a 10x gain. And the good news is that those multiply on top of each other. So we're just going to start seeing, transactions get cheaper, and then transactions get even cheaper, and then transactions that keep getting even cheaper. And this is the thing that our research and dev community is already completely focused on.
While speaking at a conference in July, Buterin announced a list of cool rhyming name upgrades that he says will make the blockchain network 100% complete. With the merge out of the way, the network is now 55% complete, but there is still the surge, verge, purge, and splurge. According to the Canadian programmer, the surge will bring adequate scaling solutions that enable cheaper layer 2 blockchains, reduce the cost of rollups, and make it easier for users to operate the network's nodes. The Ether creator has also explained that the surge will enable the blockchain network to process around 100,000 transactions per second. In addition, the verge would reduce the amount of data network validators have to store on their machines, while the purge would remove old network history to simplify the Ether network over time. But before these important upgrades, Buterin tries to clear up issues about privacy, censorship, and the centralization of the Ether network. Please listen as the Ether co-founder discusses these important issues and how they affect users.
Yeah, so I think there's two questions in that question, right? One of those questions is how does the Ethereum network approach privacy? And the other question is how does the Ethereum network approach not being censored? And for the first question, I think realistically our answer is still and can only be for at least some amount of time, some kind of application layer, kind of layer 2 style privacy. And the reason for that is less kind of ideological or economic or political or anything like that, and more just technical, which is that we don't know what kinds of technologies are going to be best for giving people the best kind of privacy. And that's true at a level of do you use Splunk or do you use Halo? It's true at the level of, are we privacy preserving just currency versus more complicated applications? If so, then what does the language that people use to program privacy even look like? And just all of these very unresolved issues where it just feels like the only thing the Ethereum network can do at this point is just offer a low-level general purpose platform and let people build stuff on top. As for network layer censorship resistance, I mean, that has absolutely been a discussion in core Ethereum research and dev circles. In general, a couple of opinions, right? I mean, one of them is that I do think that there are people who are much more defeatist about the centralization of proof of stake than is the reality, right? So people kind of casually say things like, oh, Lido plus Coinbase have 42%. And, a lot of people in the Ethereum ecosystem do sometimes like criticizing Lido because, especially if it gets even larger, its governance does introduce more centralization vectors and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, Lido is not a single actor, right? Lido is a system that splits stake between somewhere around 20 different staking providers, and even accomplishes a pretty even split between them. And so if you look at actual actors that are running nodes, Lido isn't one of them. Lido is something like a dozen of them, right? And so from that point of view, and then if you start looking into the future, one of the reasons why some people stake inside of pools instead of solo staking is because if you stake in pools, you have liquidity, right? And withdrawals have not been enabled, but withdrawals are going to be enabled, and the plan is to enable withdrawals in the next hard fork, right? And so once you can just take your money and bring it back instantly, the calculation changes. So from a just decentralization of a stake point of view, I mean, I think one, a lot of things are sort of better than the trolls have been saying, and things are improving. And two is that there is a defense in depth sort of strategy that's being I think, very actively worked on, right? So one example of this is people are concerned about this idea of builder centralization, where you have things like MEV Boost, which lets validators outsource the block creation to specialized actors, and those specialized actors are going to be doing a better job of like extracting every last cent of revenue out of the blocks. And the risk is that like, oh, is one builder just going to dominate that ecosystem? And so one of the solutions there is to kind of move from this MEV boost world to a world where proposer builder separation is in protocol, and so at least the relay layer can be completely removed and moved into the protocol. The other is that there are ways to change the protocol so that the proposer can still ensure that some transactions get included into the next block, into their block, regardless of what the builder says.
As a cryptocurrency network, decentralization is a core fundamental for the Ether network. If the network becomes susceptible to censorship from governments and other entities, it loses this important fundamental and users' trust. As an Ether investor, are you satisfied with Vitalik Buterin's assessment of the situation? Do you think the blockchain network remains secure and safe for users despite the changes? Please drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications for more videos. Thanks for watching.